Most of the world knows Toni Morrison as the Nobel Prize-winning novelist. At Princeton University, however, she is known as Professor Morrison, and one of her main responsibilities is the Princeton Atelier, a program of her own invention. The Atelier invites world-class artists, like the early music ensemble Anonymous 4 or percussionist Evelyn Glennie, to come to Princeton and create a project with students during the spring semester. The students are graded pass-fail, but make no mistake, the ateliers are extremely demanding. Admission is by written application and audition. For example, the students in the atelier led by American Ballet Theater had to be able to work alongside the dancers in ABT's professional apprentice company.
Stop. Go back. Go back. Stand up and just do 52 rond de jambes en l'air.
The artist has got to have something that he or she takes away, work that they want to do, not just monitoring students' work. The choreographers who have come here have done choreography that they can now put in the repertoire. But it wouldn't be just an artist coming in, expounding, and then leaving. You know, it had to be something that was mutually beneficial.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and
I had this great music. It was French rap music.
6, 7, head left.
But I knew I couldn't do a whole ballet full of French rap.
From Herman Sauté on 3.
So I said, you know what? I will do a kind of tribute to French music through the ages. I like to work in a lot of kind of grotesque poses, and I know ballet dancers usually are kind of wary of making those grotesque poses, you know, for the sake of preserving their image and line that they've worked so hard to achieve. I have the Princetonians and I have the ABT people.
Double. By 2.
But I sense that there is a mutual respect there.
Yes.
The Princetonians are less inhibited than professional classical ballet dancers.
Big ballet.
The disadvantages, the one might be their limited knowledge of ballet vocabulary, which is what I like to work off of.
Aaron and Ashley and
The artists who come here don't establish themselves as masters so much as professionals, and their demands are very, very high.
Go off that way?
And that communicates to the students how hard this is, how serious it is. It's not your camp finger painting.
Stop, stop, stop. Look at her. Look at her. All right, let's go back. You guys have secrets. All right? It should be playful. It shouldn't be this kind of scared footwork. You know, it should be like dun, dun. Yes, I heard about that. Now, all right?
It's very
so
intense.
Really relate to each other. It's great.
It's very, I think, rewarding.
Without words sometimes.
But it's only for people who can really do it.
All right. And
the students have to take the initiative.
Now
And then they
come
have
on,
to be
Ellen.
responsive when it's not working.
Look at
They
her.
have to do it over.
Look at her. She'll save you.
And they're used to doing
Good.
it right the first time. And they can see it the first time. And art's not like
Right.
that. Revision is the name of the game. If you don't like to do it over, then you should not be here. You should not be in this thing. It was not a rigid 12-week course, nor was it a regular creative arts
Good,
program.
Right. If you could get further away from him.
But it was a different kind of thing. It was work-oriented. It was as much as I could make it like what a student would experience in that particular genre if he were working outside the university and his rent depended on it. That's what I wanted, that feeling.
I happen to be the only full-time solo percussionist in the world. I don't play in an orchestra, I don't teach on a regular basis, I don't have a percussion company or something like that. It's just literally giving these solo concerts. The Atelier project was in fact the first residency in the United States I've ever done, and I was intrigued by the whole concept of the project, where we could be with a small group of people and work on many aspects and have the openness to go wherever the individual needs wanted to go.
Here we go.
The range and abilities and the interests of the students were all quite varied, and some of them really played percussion as almost like a sideline. And so what you got was not so much a great ability in the actual mechanics of playing, but you got this unbelievable sense of curiosity and a lot of imagination.
Just be aware of that. Everybody felt that, right? The hands wanted to go faster. So really you have to kind of reorganize yourself so that the hands are following.
One of the benefits of being at Princeton is that you get students who are majoring in engineering or architecture or microbiology who also play the cello and who also, they do so many things.
And another way to hold it is instead of the thumb bracing right here, the thumb can be off the jingle. And this is what we call the loud position.
We collaborate, we experiment with instruments. You know, we all know about a drum, but I mean, what is a drum? I mean, there are absolutely thousands of variations in the types of drums that you can find. And, you know, a drum will take you to practically every country in the world. Very often, I think, for musicians, it's a sense of touch that is probably the most important sense. And this was very important, really, for the students to get involved in creating sounds. And that's basically how I function as a musician. You know, you read the dots on the page, as it were, but at the end of the day, that's really your guideline. It's a map.
I wanted to work on site-specific installation with students, and this house, it was a frat house before. This house presented the most opportunities on collaboration. A student could relate herself or himself to the house environment. It's house, it's home, and everybody experienced that.
Well, I was actually kind of inspired by family trees. So I was thinking of like how the house was a space where kind of a lot of families would come and go. I don't know, I just wanted to do something with like a network of branches and trees and like.
Contrasting nature with technology. So I have a satellite dish in the closet, and I'm going to be having computer parts just falling out of the closet.
All these people painted this wall, and I had it because when you have a painted wall, it's like, it's there for everyone to see. It's in the first room. It's a very public thing. But if you think about couples who usually paint the wall, it's usually like newlyweds or people who are owning the house and like all the renovation. And like you usually move into the house with someone you love or someone you're very close to. So there's a lot of private moments in painting the wall and a lot of like friendship. And so I thought even on a very exposed layer, even on the very thin surface, instead of being completely public, you could have some like private, real moments.
Most of the students, they didn't realize how much work it takes to make something. They have some good, wild and good ideas. I want to do this and I want to do this, but in a given amount of time, so it's impossible. And I didn't want to tell them that it's possible if you'll be here 24 hours a day.
They spend more time in it than they do practically any other course on campus. No one cares that they have 15 other things to do. On occasion, students have come and said, you know, I can't make dress rehearsal. I remember one instance when a student said that to an artist, and may I be excused? And the artist said yes. And the student said, well, what time is the performance? And the artist said, oh, don't come back. If you can't make dress, there's no point in going on with the performance. So it's that level that, you know, they're not, they don't beg them, they don't take attendance, you know, but if you're not there, you're not there.
On that note, I'd like to introduce our final act of the evening. Excuse us.
We are not an act.
We are a theatrical device. Well, okay then. Please welcome
The chorus.
This is my first experience doing something theatrical. So it's a great learning experience for me because I do a lot of performing of my own poetry as a solo performer, but I haven't ever done anything with an ensemble.
You have the desert, and you have one tin spade. Dig it.
What we did is we deconstructed the story of the Exodus and came up with a bunch of scenes, conflicts within the story that are hinted at, and then explore them through improvisations and monologue writing and dialogue writing. I mean, we sort of really got up on our feet and started acting these scenes out.
So many of the writers I knew did film, did opera, did lyrics, did all sorts of things that were outside of just the writing effort. So I thought, maybe there's something here.
You know, you start with a very staccato whip cracking, foot swelling.
I think if they don't learn anything else, they learn that the first draft is not the last draft, and that the process of creating a work of art has to do with endless small-scale readjustments and revisions and cutting and adding and altering. They see that that's what has to be done, and I think they can get that in an experience like this where they have to work together and they have to work with us and they have to recognize that all their individual pieces have to fit into something larger.
When you sing this music with more than one person, you're talking about making a sound that comes from listening more than from thinking about how you personally sound. That's definitely what we do, and I think I'm hearing the students do that too. And they're actually doing some things that are like what a musicologist would do. They're doing some reconstruction, they're doing some kind of reconstruction of polyphony on chant sources, according to the guidelines that exist from around the 12th, 11th century.
They're being given melodies the same way a chorister, say at a cathedral in southern France, might be given a melody or inherit it somehow, and then run with it, make an arrangement of this that's pleasing and attractive, add a melody line to it that makes it more interesting. So they're really putting themselves back in time, even though they can't get the 20th century or 21st century out of their ears. They're still doing the same process.
The music on the page looks very, very simple, but it's really surprisingly difficult. You have to have some kind of background in rhetoric. You have to have a sense of phrasing. You have to look at patterns of notes to find where you might want to breathe. You have to have a sense of the rules of writing polyphony. And you have to be willing to make a real commitment to making it into something. You can't just read it off the page and expect it to spring fully formed to life like a Beethoven sonata or something. You have to actually create something while you're doing it.
I tell the students, you don't know, 5 years from now, this may be one of the most important things that has happened to you in your education. You don't really know. And it's that possibility, not the production of professional artists. It's that possibility, what it does for the intellectual life and what it can do in terms of your own vision about your life. That's what's important.